Tomato plants need support, and there's a couple ways that you can do it. But today I'm going to show you my favorite way to tie up tomatoes. So as you can see here, my tomatoes are no longer able to support their own weight. So we have to tie them up. And which kind of brings us to the reason why you need to do this. Because they're not able to support their own weight, more of it is touching the ground. And when the ground is under moist conditions, it can cause different diseases and issues with the plant that can spread. So it's important that we keep this off the ground to help minimize disease. Yeah, you can see right here, because that one was touching the ground, it's starting to rot away. And if we don't take care of that, that could eventually spread to the rest of the plant and cause more problems later down the line. This is just an example of what we're going to be doing today. I did these to these plants a while ago because these are growing much faster than the rest of them. But the method we're doing is called the Florida weave, and it's kind of a hybrid between using a tomato cage and a tomato stake. And I find this method works really well for me. So today I'm going to show you how to do it. You'll have to excuse the weeds. I've been a little busy, but this is the general setup. You need two T-posts, and these, I forget how big they were, maybe 6 or 7 feet, but they're in the ground about 2 feet, and you need them to be pretty deep because you need them to be sturdy. Since these two, at least the one on the end, not ignore that wooden one for now. These are going to be holding the weight of the tomatoes, so you want to use sturdy T-posts or stakes or whatever. And then for spacing, you want to do 10 to 12 feet apart. If you go any further, it's a little bit harder to keep the tension on the string, like you see down there. So that's why 10 to 12 feet, maybe 15 you could get away with, but I wouldn't go any further than that. So now you're probably saying to yourself, okay, Andrew, if you said 10 to 12 feet, then what's this doing in the middle? This is kind of my own sort of twist on this method. This method, it can be a little difficult to do by yourself, especially as the plants grow bigger and get thicker and they kind of bush out. So I find that putting a post in the middle, it kind of helps you maintain that tension, because once you do like this first section, you can wrap the rope around and keep that tension, or even tie it off if you need to, and then continue on to the next section. So that's why I like to put a post in the middle. You don't have to, but I find it helps since I do a lot of the work out here by myself. So it's just another option to consider if you're going to try this method out. The next thing we need after the T-posts is the rope to tie them up. So this is a box of tying twine. I got this from Home Depot 4 or 5 years ago, and I still have a ton left. And this actually wasn't too expensive. You can also use baling twine, like they use to tie up hay bales and straw bales. You can find that at like Tractor Supplies and other farm and feed stores, places like that. But the key thing to note is you want to use a poly-based twine. You don't want to use a fabric-based like cotton. And the reason for that is when you stretch your line, if it gets wet, the cotton fibers are going to expand, and then as they dry, they're going to kind of contract and your string is going to lose tension. That doesn't happen with the poly twine. Like once you stretch it out, it's going to stay like that pretty much forever. I mean, not forever, but for a long time. So that's why it's better to use this than a cotton-based twine. Okay, now that our posts are set up and we have our string, we can start to tie up the plants. And the best way to measure your string, I found, is to actually take your line and run it all the way to the other end, wrap it around the T-post, and then bring it all the way back to your starting post. I like to leave about 2 feet extra on the ends, just so it allows us some room to wrap it around the pole to help us tie it off. So I'll probably go, that's probably good enough. And then I'll just cut my line and we're ready to start. First thing I do is I'm going to tie a knot to the post. So take one end of your string and you go about 6 inches up from the ground is what I usually do. And then every time you need another one, you go up another 6 inches. I just tie a basic square knot. And then just to make sure, like if our knot fails or anything, to make sure that the tension stays put, I like to wrap the rope around the pole and pull it tight like 3 times. So that's 1, that's 2, and that is 3. And now we're ready to start weaving in between the plants. So the easiest way to sort of do this and not get confused which side is to stand on one side of your row and make your side, we'll call it the near side, and then the other side, the far side. That's kind of what I do just to help keep my sanity and make sure I'm doing it right. So if we look how it's tied to the pole, it's coming around what we would consider the near side because it's closer to us. So that means when we start here on our first plant, we're going to go around the far side. So you go around, put all your slack over there. And when you're doing this, you want to make sure you're holding the tension on the rope because the tension is how this whole method works. So you want to make sure that you're pulling it tight. We are going to pick up this mess of a tomato plant here. And because, again, we're coming from the near side of the T-post, we're going to go on the far side of this plant here. And it is a little difficult in the beginning because there's a lot of excess here. So sometimes it gets tangled. So try to keep it neat. As we're pulling, we're just keeping that tension. If we're standing on our one side, we've gone on the far side of this plant. So we're going to go on the near side of this next one. It helps to keep the string level as you're going across. Sometimes you might have to pitch it up or down. I like to try to keep it level. And then I like to find a nice, strong branch to wrap it around. Well, not wrap it around, but lean it up against. So I'm going with this main stem here. So now we are on the near side of this plant. And as we continue down, if I had another plant here, we'd be going on the far side of the plant. But because I have these helper posts, we are going to be going on the far side of the post. And then once I get to this post, I like to wrap it around like 2 or 3 times, just as we did in the beginning. So I'll pull it. I will wrap it around 2, 3 times, and then I will continue on down the line. And again, this post just kind of helps keep the tension on your string if you're working by yourself. So now we went to the near side of this plant, the far side of the post. This next plant we will be going on the near side. Camera moved. I got my tension on. Far side of the post, so we're on the near side of the first plant. So that'll be like that. And then we are on the far side of the second plant. So we cross it over. And then the near side of the post. Again, once we get to that end post, I wrap it around 2, 3 times. Again, for that tension. That tension is the most important thing with that method. So make sure when you get to the post, you're pulling it tight. And then we'll bring it on back. So now, when we got to the end post, we were on the near side. Now we're coming back, so we're on the far side of the post. So that means this first plant, we are on the near side. And you can kind of tell, because like basically what you're doing is you're crisscrossing between the plants. So if your string is ever on the same side, you know you messed up somewhere. So it's pretty easy to fix. So near side on this one, that means the far side on this one. And you can see, look at how this one's falling down. Well, not anymore. So we're on the far side there. We're going to pull it tight. And because these they were laying for a little bit, they kind of grew like a curve. These will eventually straighten out as they get more sunlight. So yeah, far side, and then we're back around this helper post. Did I not cut my string long enough? I can fix that. Okay, so it turns out that I did not cut my string long enough, which it happens, but because I have these helper posts here, this method is pretty foolproof. I'm just going to tie it off right here just like I did in the beginning. So I'll just do a square knot. So now we can see our plants are supported. I still got to prune these, so it does look a little ugly right now, but it won't look like that forever, I promise. So yes, I did cut my rope a little short, but because I have this helper post, I can just cut a new piece of rope. So let's do that now. I don't want to get confused here, but I can look at the plant to see which side I have to be on. So on this plant here, I am on the near side. So that means when I tie it here, I can actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to tie this to my existing rope here. Okay, there we go. It's like nothing ever happened. And then I can continue my weave. So we're going to be on the far side. Keep pulling it tight. And then the near side of this one. Let's see here. Make sure I'm not squeezing any branches. Go under this leaf cluster there. And then I can finish, again, just like how I started, wrap it around the post a few times and then tie it off. So pull it tight, wrap it around, and tie it off. So you can see the weave there going through, holding the plants up. And then to do your next row, it's the same thing as we did on the bottom. You just go up 6 inches and repeat the same process that we did. We can see that again here, like with these cherry tomatoes I have. Which I have to do these again already. I just did these not too long ago. So that is the Florida weave method for trellising tomatoes. I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like, leave a comment, let me know what you thought, and get subscribed to see what I have coming up next. As always, thanks for watching and happy growing.